Jango Fett was one of the most well-renowned bounty hunters in the galaxy for his incredible toughness, combat skill, and his ability to kill. In the final years of the Republic before his death, Jango was even regarded as the best bounty hunter to walk the galaxy, being feared by many. So, we're going to dive deep into his backstory and how he was recruited by the Mandalorian Jaster Mereel and was forced to commit some unspeakable actions at a very young age. Before we get into it, make sure to hit the subscribe button to be notified as soon as I cover the other 3 issues of the comic, as the whole series provides a really great origin for Jango Fett. So, the story begins deep in the Bogden system with Count Dooku racing to his secret lair on one of its many moons named Kohlmha, also known as the Moon of the Dead. Dooku hastily lands his interstellar sloop yacht on one of the landing platforms before pacing his way across the narrow platforms to his main base of operations. He is forced to cut his way through a slimy serpent which lurks below his base with his curved red lightsaber before he is finally able to enter his chamber. Inside, Dooku is shocked to see that his own master, Darth Sidious, has been waiting for him at his own lair. Tyrannus then bows to his master before Sidious tells him that his visit will be very short as he can't afford to be away from Coruscant for too long, but he wanted to check in on Dooku's progress in finding the candidate for the clone template of the new clone army for the Republic. Dooku quickly tells his master that he has absolutely no need to worry, as his search for the prime clone is nearing its completion. He has found a bounty hunter named Jango Fett, the last of the Mandalorians, the sole survivor of the Jedi raid on Galadran. Dooku goes on to say that he's the perfect soldier in every way, but Palpatine interrupts, firmly asking, "And you've researched his past?" Dooku, having done a lot of deep research into Jango's past, tells his master that he has interrogated his former associates and even recently visited Concord Dawn, the planet where Jango was born and where his family was slaughtered. And this leads us straight into a direct flashback of Jango's past. We begin decades before Dooku's meeting with Sidious. The Mandalorians have been fractured, giving rise to a chaotic splinter group who called themselves the Death Watch. The Death Watch followed a barbaric man called Tor Vizsla, who held a strong belief that the Mandalorian people should conquer the galaxy. Vizsla orchestrated a brutal and bloody plot against the true Mandalorians, who were the faction of Mandos loyal to a man named Jaster Mereel, once a murderer, now a reformed man. In stark opposition to Tor Vizsla's beliefs, Jaster Mereel believed that the Mandalorians should simply be highly paid soldiers, which Vizsla absolutely despised. On Concord Dawn, the world Jaster claimed was his own, the members of the Death Watch, led by Vizsla, scattered the Mandalorians and began a fearsome hunt. As the hunt begins, Tor Vizsla pursues Jaster through the fields of Concord Dawn, loudly exclaiming, "You can't escape me, Jaster," before threatening to burn every single hiding spot on the planet to the ground and execute every person who dared to help him hide, before finally pledging to viciously take his head off if he is found. As the horrifying hunt by the Death Watch continues, the son of a young farmer named Jango Fett is playing in the fields of his family farm with a blaster in hand. Young Jango eventually finds deep boot markings pacing through the family field, but before he can investigate any further, his father pops through the tall plants, holding a mysterious basket before calling his name. Jango's father firmly tells his son that he should be fixing the harvester, not playing around out in the fields, but Jango's curiosity gets the better of him. He asks his father what's in the basket, and his father is annoyed but tells him that there's food in there for a beggar out in the fields. Jango continues asking questions, but his father firmly reminds him to get back to work on the harvester. Following this, Jango begins repairing the harvester, and as he is staring into the highly reflective window of the blue machine, he is frightened by a reflection walking up behind him. Jango turns to see 2 men, with one being the frightening leader of the Death Watch, Tor Vizsla. The 2 men hold the poor young Jango at gunpoint, demanding to know if he's seen any strangers around, because they are looking for bad men. Jango, being the sarcastic kid he is, responds saying, "Apart from you?" The 2 Death Watch members are ready to shoot the kid on the spot for his sarcasm, but Jango quickly cracks, admitting that his father gave food to a beggar wearing soldier boots earlier in the day. Because of this, unfortunately, Tor Vizsla's men arrive at the center of the Fett family homestead and horrifically beat Jango's father to a pulp, demanding to know where Jaster Mereel is, the man opposing the Death Watch. The eyes of Jango's father are brought to a thick purple and black color, while blood seeps out of his mouth and nose. His father exclaims in horrible pain that he has not seen Jaster since he was exiled, before telling Tor that he is the journeyman protector here and that he is the law. Vizsla says something chilling. He says, "No, this is the law." before demanding one final time to know where Jaster Mereel is. As Vizsla is about to pull the trigger and put a blaster bolt right through his head, someone in the distance takes a shot, violently hitting Vizsla's henchman in the helmet. As Vizsla turns around, he sees that it is actually Jango's mother with his sister by his side and a rifle in hand protecting her son. As Vizsla's henchman drops to the ground, tears flow from Jango's eyes as his father yells at him to run with all of his might. Jango has no choice but to swiftly move his way through the family fields, with tears gushing from his eyes with every step he takes, until eventually he runs into another group of Mandalorians. Back at the Fett family homestead, Tor Vizsla and his men brutally execute Jango's father, before doing the same to his sister, pledging to leave absolutely no witnesses to their atrocious actions. Finally, they use their arm-mounted flamethrowers to set fire to the fields and burn the entire Fett legacy to nothing but thick black ash. Following that, the Mandalorians who found Jango beg him to join them, but he's locked in fear and shock, crying as he watches his family house burn to a crisp and his family horribly murdered. The leader of this mysterious group tells Jango that his family is dead, either come with us or die here too. Following this, one of the Mandalorians yells that the fire is burning too fast, before revealing Jaster's name for Jango himself to hear. Jaster pulls Jango through the raging inferno, with thick smoke blocking their vision and impeding their path, but Jango manages to clear his mind and direct the group to a nearby irrigation tube. Jango then tells them that they can crawl under the fire, but the rest aren't too confident, saying, "Or we'll get boiled alive." The group do eventually make their way out of the pipes without much harm, and Jango still holds incredible anger at the Death Watch, offering to take the true Mandalorians to the closest town. The young Jango is then asked if he knows how to shoot a blaster, and he heartbreakingly responds that he was taught by his dad, leading the true Mandalorians to take the boy with them. In the nearest town, the Death Watch tyrants are rolling through the streets with their tanks, brutalizing the local citizens, and even going as far as to rob them and push a crippled man. Once the true Mandalorians arrive on the scene, however, they put a stop to the disgusting behavior of the Death Watch, opening fire on their forces, with Jaster ordering his second-in-command, Montrose, to fire directly on Tor Vizsla himself. While this is happening, Jango, aching for revenge, begins to plant blast charges on the Death Watch tank, before rushing out of the area just in time for it to burst into a huge orange fireball, sending debris in every direction. After this, Jango comes face to face with the Death Watch member, tearfully shouting that he killed his family. The Death Watch member brushes this off as just the casualties of war, but activates his blade and unsuccessfully attempts to kill the young Jango. Jango stumbles and drops his blaster to the ground, but rapidly dives down to retrieve it, with the Death Watch member moments away from impaling him with his sharp blade. In complete shock and almost pure instinct, Jango pulls the trigger on his blaster, filling the Death Watch member with a series of scorching red blaster bolts, ending his life immediately. Tears once again roll down Jango's eyes, but Jaster Mereel assures him that he came through and carries him out of the area. As the other true Mandalorians continue firing back, Jaster comforts Jango and welcomes him to the true Mandalorians, taking him on as a son from here on out. So that is how Jango Fett became a Mandalorian. Thanks so much for watching, really hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to subscribe for part 2 of Jango Fett Open Seasons. Cheers guys, hope to see you in the next one.